Hello, it's Ben. I am the person editing this podcast. Basically, Jack's audio is terrible, so it is absolutely abysmal. It does get better at the time code 21 minutes 19 seconds. So if you do want to skip to that and you don't want to listen to the terrible audio, I absolutely would encourage you to do so. No one's going to be... There's not anything particularly important in the first bit, but if you don't want to, go through the first bit and listen to the terrible audio, you go for it. No one's going to stop you. But yeah, 21 minutes 19 if you want to listen to the decent audio. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the episode no matter where you listen to or listen from. So yeah, enjoy the podcast.
From TLDR News, this is Too Long Didn't Read. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Too Long Didn't Read. I'm Jack and with me today are...
Oh, you want us to say our names this time?
Oh, I'll say your
We're
names
doing a different system.
You put us off there, dude. That was
spent
weird.
7 episodes with one system and now we're changing it.
Let's just keep it. Let's just keep going.
No, keep going.
I'm Zach.
Keep going.
I'm still
Play with
here.
it.
I'm Zach. I'm here again. And
Yeah, I'm Ben and I'm massively underprepared for this intro.
I'm sorry, I didn't realise the intro was going to be so controversial.
the intro is always controversial. You should get used to that by now. Dude.
Yeah.
I know.
That's the bit that
Also-
Ben invariably messes up.
I always do.
Also controversially, we're all in different places today. Well, Ben's in the same place.
Yeah.
Basically,
I'm
I've
not recording.
moved.
Yeah, I'm not recording from the studio today, and Zach is recording with Ben.
Yeah. In my student room house. So
I happen to be down in Nottingham, so
yeah.
So if everything sounds a bit weird, then I'm sorry, but we're doing our best. We had to do this kind of like last minute emergency podcast because there's been some big news. A lot's happened.
Yeah.
what a segue.
Since we last I know, thank you. It would be more smooth if you hadn't pointed it out. Since we last recorded, there has been some major developments because we recorded on Tuesday, I think. So since then, we've had the deal.
Yes.
The deal was promised. They promised the EU that it will go through Parliament. I think most people were kind of sceptical. The DUP said, "Nah, no way, mate." Exact quote. And then the vote went to Parliament, and it didn't go through. They didn't actually have the meaningful vote. They ended up, Burko ended up accepting the Letwin Amendment, which essentially said that Parliament were withholding their approval of the deal until they'd had more chance to debate and for all the laws to go through that were necessary. So essentially that made the meaningful vote pointless. Because what's the point in holding a meaningful vote if it's not going to mean anything until all the laws are passed and they've had time to scrutinise? So they basically just called it off because it would have been a waste of time. So that's the first part of things. Do you want to discuss that and then we can move on to the whole extension drama?
Yeah. I don't see why not.
Cool. So was this a surprise to anyone? I think the DUP were always clear that they weren't keen on the deal. But from what I've heard, it was a fairly last-minute decision from their side to kind of support the Letwin Amendment.
Yeah, I think there was... I remember seeing that there was a few... part of the reason it got through was that... I can't remember the exact number, but it was about 6-7 Labour MPs. I'm thinking of something else, am I? Oh, am I?
Don't know.
I think you might be. I don't know what you're thinking of. But
Just keep talking.
Quite
and
a
we'll see
few
if you're
Labour
right or not.
MPs voted for that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
I remember there
majority.
were Labour as a party. Sorry, let me just get my head straight. It's early. Labour as a party all voted for it. Sorry, and then there were there were like 6 or 7 that defected and voted against it. So that wasn't the reason that it passed. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my head around what happened. And I remember there was a bit of backlash. I remember Owen Jones. He was calling for their removal from the party and all sorts, which I think was a bit of a weird one because I seem to remember Johnson getting quite a lot of scrutiny for kicking people out for not voting with the party line on a Brexit, on a Brexit vote, and then Owen Jones and that kind of the left wanting to get rid of Labour MPs for not backing an amendment. I don't know. It was a bit weird, but I feel like I've kind of railroaded this already and talked about something completely different.
I think that's actually quite interesting because I think if you actually look at the Labour MPs who are thinking about voting for a deal, it is almost invariably people who are stepping down by their own volition at the next election. Like it's people whose political careers are sort of already over. And I think that when it comes around to the actual meaningful vote, I'm pretty sure. I think there's a good chance that Corbyn will actually do one of his like 3-line whip plus if you break this, you're deselected, sort of thing.
It would be an interesting move. It would certainly follow in the controversial footsteps of Johnson earlier in the process.
Yeah, it really would. Hopefully with more success.
I think that's sort of like a dangerous path to go down, though. I understand that important votes, you want your party to back you, and you want to instill some authority and make sure that you get your party with you. But I think just threatening to remove MPs, and if that's becoming more and more normal for really important votes, I think that there's, I don't know, I think that's a really dangerous precedent to start setting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't, yeah, because there's always that sort of tension that an MP has as to how they should vote. So there's that sort of, do they vote their conscience, do they vote their party, or do they vote their constituents? And if in certain votes that the parties are telling them you can't vote the other, you have to vote your party, and if you don't, you're out. I think that's just really, because then what if you do, what about the MPs that have worked for the, like Ken Clarke when he was removed from the Conservative Party, when you've had MPs that have worked for a party for decades and decades, dedicated their lives to it, and they just disagree on a policy matter of the current leader, which might not even be the policy decision of the party once they get a new leader, or, previously when they had a different leader. Mm-hmm. As I say, I think that it could just set a very dangerous precedent for parties and lead to just a complete breakdown of, not a complete breakdown of the party system, but at least, some dangerous repercussions on the British party system. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, I feel like we've not actually spoken about the issue yet. So, what was the original question?
Yeah, what were we talking about?
We were talking about the Letwin Amendment.
Right.
So the fact that it's been, kind of the process has been delayed now, and they've been given more time, at least in theory, to scrutinise the bill. Though Johnson immediately after the amendment was passed, basically just said, we're not going to have an extension. I'm not going to negotiate an extension. We're still leaving on the 31st. We're starting kind of all the discussion and getting it through Parliament on Monday, which is a really ambitious timetable. So ambitious that it's almost like implausible that they could possibly get this deal through by the 31st. I mean, if there was no resistance to it, they could certainly shove it through the House that quickly. But with the resistance there is, and with the debates people are going to want to have, and the scrutiny they're going to want, getting it through by the 31st is kind of fanciful. Like, there's no way that's going to happen, surely.
Yeah. Well, Gove said this morning that he reckons it'll happen. He? Yeah. So yeah. Sorry.
I think it all depends, because they are publishing a programme motion which will set out how they expect that to happen on Monday. So I think if they get the numbers for the programme motion, which will be, I think, the interesting vote coming up, then I think they might have a chance of getting it all through. But I agree. I think that even if they did just about get the numbers for that, like, you're hoping that there are no hitches anywhere, no massive blocks by the Lords, nothing like that. Yeah. And that, that might be a little bit optimistic.
Yeah, to expect everything to go smoothly in Parliament and on the EU side, which is probably more likely, and then for everything to be finalised by the 31st. And if it doesn't, effectively, we land with a no deal. So it's a pretty risky strategy, which is why Letwin and his supporters decided to go for this amendment, because they wanted the extension in place so that if this did all collapse and it didn't end up going through by the 31st, we wouldn't then just fall out of the EU at the end of that.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though, because Letwin he's obviously thinking along different lines to most of the people who backed his amendment. Mm-hmm. Like, Letwin does actually want to support the deal, and Letwin, he was being very sincere about, it's proper to have some scrutiny and all that sort of thing. Yeah. But, the only reason this deal got passed is, let's be honest, is people who just don't... It's people who want to still remain or properly delay, get a new Labour Brexit deal or have a second referendum or something like that. So... it'll be interesting to see how that pans out votes-wise, when the programme motion comes through, how many of those people were being sincere about, we just want to delay so we can scrutinise, and how many just want to completely, stifle Johnson's Brexit.
I think you're right. I think the vast majority have to be people that are just trying to stop Brexit or delay it or allow for further negotiations with the EU, though that looks fairly impossible. But yeah, they're looking for things like that rather than just to give them more time for this bill, and it's kind of just a convenient thing for them to jump on.
Yeah, I think that'll become clearer though at the beginning of next week. So I think it's not long to wait to find out. But yeah, the other thing about this is that Johnson did send the letter, didn't he, last night? Unsigned, though.
That is so funny. That was
Yeah,
his secret master plan. And an unsigned letter.
Doesn't count, lol.
Completely gets around it.
While he's writing it with his left hand behind his back with his fingers crossed.
So yeah, because the Letwin Amendment passed, that essentially forced Johnson into asking the EU for an extension because of the Ben Act, which is something we've discussed lots before. But essentially it required him to ask the EU for an extension. There was a lot of talk about whether he could get around this, whether it was legally binding, what he could do. We talked a while ago about the 2 letters technique. And he decided to up the ante and kind of go for 3 letters almost. So Johnson did comply with the Ben Act, at least in theory, sending a letter requesting an extension. But that letter, as Ben just mentioned, was unsigned. And according to a phone call he had with the EU, it was from Parliament rather than from him, which isn't true at all. But anyway,
that's just a lie.
That's completely untrue.
Somebody claimed that?
Sorry?
Somebody claimed that was the case?
Johnson did in a phone call, I believe, with Tusk, but I could be wrong on the EU official. But yeah, he said that the letter was from Parliament rather than from him. Which just isn't right. Just because you don't sign it doesn't mean you didn't send it.
In some weird metaphysical sense, I didn't want to sign that. That's just a lie.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, anyway. So he sent that one letter. He also sent a second letter from the UK ambassador to the EU, explaining essentially what was happening, right? Have we seen the second letter? I haven't seen the second letter.
I haven't seen it, no.
I think there was a cover letter out. I saw the second letter. I haven't read it properly.
And then that was the cover letter, the one from the EU ambassador. And then finally there was the third letter, which was signed by Johnson, saying that extension was not the solution and that we shouldn't be going for this route. Basically telling EU officials and EU leaders that he didn't want to see it signed. And the extension was, to quote, deeply corrosive. So what do we think about this? Are we surprised that he actually asked for the extension?
I was just going to say, I'm not 100% certain on this, so I'd need to look this up. But wasn't there a court or a judge or something like that said if sending 2 letters, that isn't abiding by that law, because it specifically says you're seeking an extension, and if you then demonstrate that you're not actually seeking the extension, it renders it all pointless. Like you might as well not have said anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Was that? Yeah, that's correct. So I don't understand. Like if they've already said that, I don't understand why he's doing it. And also, just on a more sort of pragmatic point of view, if you really don't want the extension, and you have to send a letter, you might as well do. People know that he doesn't want it. He said, "I'd rather be dead in a ditch than extend past the 31st." So it's the EU have internet. Like Juncker has internet, and he can look up online what Johnson said. And it's not like he's sat in a box going, "I have no idea what Johnson wants. I think he really wants this extension." Like he's sat there, no matter if he gets a letter or not. He's read all the news that we've read. He's looked at all the things we've seen, and he knows as much as we do.
Probably a bit more.
Probably more so, actually. Yeah. We don't know as much as Juncker.
Yeah.
Like disclosure, everyone. Juncker knows more than us. That's the podcast title done. But
Juncker knows more than you.
Yeah, but no. So he knows that Johnson doesn't want this extension. So why would you threaten breaking the law by sending another one saying, "By the way, if you haven't actually looked at the news, I don't really want the extension"? Like he knows that. Surely he knows that.
No, you're right. And as you said, it's according to some at least, it still breaks the law. The fact he sent these 2 letters, or 2 letters and a cover letter. I think there's a certain amount of debate around that. I think if he hadn't sent the letter at all, it would have clearly been in breach of the law. I think this is possibly a bit more up to debate. But as you said, there was a lawyer from the High Court, I believe, a judge from the High Court, who said that doing so, like sending the second letter, would be against kind of the spirit of the law, and therefore it would be essentially breaking the law. And it will go against what the letter was meant to be for. So you're right. I don't particularly understand what the benefit was, besides making it more clear than it needed to be that he was against the extension. But I'm not entirely sure what he was hoping to gain from that, besides getting himself involved with like a lawsuit, because I think it's fairly likely this will end up in court. I'd be surprised if it didn't.
I think that the ruling on the second letter thing though was more specifically about, because when the second letter idea was first pitched, it was more the idea that he'd send a second letter sort of negating the first letter, being like, no, I don't want an extension, as in like legally, like, don't give me an extension.
Yeah.
Whereas the second letter in this case was more, it was fluffier. It wasn't so like direct. It was more like an extension is not the answer. It wasn't the same as a direct contradiction of the first letter. So I think that's the way he's going to try and wiggle out of it. I don't think it will. I think even if it goes to court, I don't think he'll be in any legal trouble for that.
It'll be interesting. It's a very unique situation if it does go to court.
Yeah. I think that this is just something that I've never heard of before, where you've had a prime minister in office and it's being debated whether they've abided by the law whilst in office.
And they've also got the biggest polling out of all the leaders. I mean, the fact that he's breaking, well, he's not breaking. I think he's not breaking the law, but
no, he's certainly not yet, and there's no evidence that so far. But yeah,
it is quite mental. I'm just going to agree with you. Like, it's just the fact that we're having all these discussions about whether he does is lawful, the whole prorogation thing, and yet he's still polling way and above everyone else.
Really well.
Like, things have changed.
I don't know if that's good for Johnson or just a damning indictment of specifically Corbyn, I guess, and the other leaders. I'm not sure which way that swings.
Corbyn is just... God, that is a timeless topic in British politics at the moment.
And now for an effortless segue, Jo Swinson yesterday. Did you see her when after the vote she asked Bercow, is there any chance that we could suspend the sitting so Johnson can go send the letter? And then Bercow replied with, I'm pretty sure you know that I'm not going to do that, and the smile on your face suggests you know that I'm not going to do that, but nice one sort of thing.
It was a good moment.
It was, yes.
I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, so that was just a fun
moment in a day full of chaos.
I think she seems good. She also put a really quite a heartwarming little tweet out because Jacob Rees-Mogg was being chased by those, the sort of second referendum lot.
Whoa, hold up. I missed this. What happened?
He brought his kid to Parliament, and he's a little kid. Like, it's, it must be quite scary even just turning up to Parliament.
Yeah, definitely.
And then as he was leaving, all the there's the second referendum people's march crowd outside.
I saw that, yeah.
They were there was a police escort for him, and they were all like shouting and heckling at him. And Jo Swinson put out a really nice thing, being like, this doesn't matter what side of the political divide you're on, this is horrible. Leave.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
He's being sincere in what he thinks.
Everyone's got a right to their opinion. Yeah. And
100%.
She also commented in a second tweet, because it seemed like a lot of people were saying he shouldn't have brought his son with him. Then it was not the right environment. And she responded to that too, saying I brought my children today too. It's we're coming in on a random Saturday to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
We've got our own plans.
They
MPs
have
are real
lives.
people too. Yeah, exactly. That did seem very genuine. I mean, hopefully it was. I mean, if that was a cynical ploy to get on side, I think that'd be pretty bad. But no, I think it certainly came across as genuinely her reaching across the aisle and saying it doesn't matter who it is. It should be you've got to respect MPs as being real people, which is a real problem at the moment.
Absolutely, and I think that that's something that definitely we need to hear more of from other MPs. And I think that's a really good thing that I think just. Because everything's so polarising at the minute, everything's so, it's all very difficult at the minute to get things through, and everyone's either very much on one side of the debate or very much on the other. And I just think, I think that tweets like that and showing that you might disagree with people on policy matters, but just, accepting that people have differences of opinion, you shouldn't go around, heckling them when they're with their kids in Parliament. I think you need to hear more of that from MPs. I think that's a really good thing. Yeah, it was a good thing to do. I've only just heard about it, but no, from what I've heard,
it's nice and wholesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's quite rare
really
these
was.
days.
Yeah. Apparently he's I've heard that. Was it again? I need to check this, but Mari Black, the SNP MP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that she obviously is SNP, which is quite a left-wing party, and Jacob Rees-Mogg is traditionally more on the right of the Conservative Party. Apparently those two got on quite well, just as MPs, and they spoke quite a lot in the comms, things like that. Obviously they have such apparently obviously
mates sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
quite cute.
apparently they have such a massive difference of opinion, but they apparently got on quite well. I'm going to check that up just because I don't want to say that they were.
That could be slander.
Don't make up some new friends.
It did pop up. She made a joke about Jacob Rees-Mogg being her boyfriend.
Amazing.
Wait,
that's quite sweet.
Wait, let's have a look.
It is worth remembering that they're just definitely going to be mostly nice people. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, this is it. Sorry, this is a quote from her. I get on quite well with a lot of the Labour old guard and quite a few Tories actually, she said. There is my boyfriend, Jacob Rees-Mogg. He's my favourite. It's the kind of place where if you're reasonable with folk, then they will soften a little.
That is adorable. That is so wholesome. I like this.
Yeah.
This is such a nice podcast. We're not going to talk about any of the upsetting shit that happens.
This suddenly took a left turn into like cute things MPs have done recently. And I like it. We need more of this. This should be a video. Why are we putting this in a podcast?
Yeah.
10 sweet things from Parliament you missed this week.
This was actually 2 years ago, but it's still,
this was
still sweet. That's how far back you got to go to find some nice bit about Parliament.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Wholesome politics, everyone. That's what we like. Yeah.
Anyway.
Hello, it's me again, Ben. Congratulations, actually, if you've made it this far. As you can tell, the Jack's audio is still quite bad. I think it does actually get quite a bit better from now on, but I'm just being completely upfront with you. Yeah, well done making it this far, because it's terrible, the audio. So yeah, that's literally all this intervention's here to say. Keep going.
What were we talking about before?
Right, back onto normal politics.
Yeah, get rid of that wholesome stuff. We don't need that anymore.
Yeah, let's talk about the sad realities of British politics. What were we talking about there?
I suppose it's worth saying the EU have now been asked for the extension, obviously, and they've said that they're going to basically consult with member states whether they want to grant the extension. Could potentially be as late as like the last couple of days before Halloween, before we find out how long the extension's going to be or what they're offering. Do we think there's any chance that the EU will turn down this request, or do we think that the extension's almost guaranteed?
Yes, I think there's a good chance they'll turn it down.
You think there is?
Interesting.
I mean, oh God, is this controversial? I feel like now I've said something and it's like, wow, well, you clearly don't know. I feel like I clearly don't know something here. No, I don't think they will. I'm going to stick with it. No.
Go stronger, Ben. Call us idiots.
They definitely won't. There's something that you don't know. Yeah.
You are the real Dominic
How
Cummings.
can you possibly think that? No, they said the other day, didn't they? They said that, or there was some indication from the EU that they might not have another extension.
Oh, you mean the Barnier stuff?
Yeah, okay. Is this the point where I feel like I'm being told something here?
No,
okay.
But you're talking about the thing where Barnier said there's no need for prolongation.
Yeah. Yes.
Also, I love the way there's such a French... There's no need for prolongation.
Yes.
So it wasn't like the word extension. It was great.
Yes. So yeah, there was that. I feel like Macron has also in the past been a little bit like, I am just sick.
That was more recent. He did actually say something quite strong.
Oh, did he say something? Yeah, because I know that a few months ago he did say, I'm just getting sick of these extensions. I'm getting sick of the Brexit just dominating the EU. Like, we need to get on with more European
fair enough,
matters.
let's be honest.
Yeah, no, that I can understand that if you're in Europe, you've got like European matters to deal with as well. So, you know, we've had many years now of discussing Brexit. I can understand that that's just that will be dominating, maybe not dominating as much in the EU as it is here, or maybe it is, I don't know, but certainly a big key issue that's taken up a lot of time.
Sure.
So there's Macron, and then there's also the Orban thing, which we spoke about last time.
Yeah, but he's been very quiet.
He has been quiet, and I've not heard anything more about that, so who knows?
Apart from our ridiculous speculation on that video.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. This sort of, it could have happened.
Yeah, there we go. That's
maybe, possibly, probably didn't, but could have. So yeah, I don't know. I think that just EU leaders are probably getting a bit sick and tired. And am I right in saying it only takes one veto?
Yeah,
it needs unanimous support.
So yeah, I think there's a good chance at this time there could be a veto.
Interesting. I would go the other way. I'd say I think it's unlikely it won't be approved.
I agree.
I think ultimately no country is going to want to be the country that pulls this down. There's a lot of what you've seen over the last few weeks. There's been a lot of kind of attempts to look like you're complying, look like you're keen on negotiations, look like things are possible, because you want to look like, I said look like too many times, you want to look like your side isn't the one at fault if a no deal ends up happening. You want to be able to blame the other side and say they were like intransigent, they weren't willing to negotiate, they weren't willing to compromise. So I think a lot of EU member states will be concerned that if it does all go wrong, they'll be the ones who foot the blame for denying the extension. So I think there'll be a slight issue around that. And I think also, at least if Johnson's deal is able to progress through Parliament, hopefully the extension wouldn't need to be too long. So even if they are sick of it, it won't be in their lives too much longer, unless Johnson's deal gets turned down even after it's been scrutinised by Parliament, in which case, who knows where we are at that point.
But from their point of view, I suppose, like, if you're looking at who's to blame for the extension, I suppose from their point of view, you could quite easily say, well, we've given them 2 separate deals now.
Yeah.
We've negotiated, for a long period of time. We said we're not going to give them a second deal, but we have. We said we weren't going to budge on the Irish backstop. We have. We've done everything we can our side, and we can't see ourselves. What's the point of this other delay? Why should we be giving this other delay? So I can see that if someone did veto it, they could make a case that it's not our fault. Like we've done everything we can. It's not. There's no. Otherwise we're just going to keep giving extension after extension because Parliament won't agree to it. This is more a Parliament issue than a European Union issue at this point. We've done our part. It's your turn to do it, and you've clearly not. So I suppose that could be the argument that they make. But I can understand what you're saying. Like, no, if it does only take one, and there is only one, like that's going to be written in the history books as it was this country that stopped us. That forced the UK out on a no deal or whatever ends up happening because of this. So I can see that, but I suppose maybe they won't be as concerned about that because their argument would just be, well, we've done everything we can. Like,
it's not apart from grant. That would be the thing, though. They've done everything they could to stop no deal, apart from grant the extension. So we'll just, you know what I mean.
But what I mean more is that So we just keep giving extension after extension after extension, like. Okay,
and I think that's a perfectly reasonable answer and a perfectly reasonable argument that they could make. The problem is whether that will come across to the general public. What are the optics of that? Are the general public going to listen to a fully fledged argument about the logic of more extensions, or are they just going to look at France or Hungary or whoever as the reason why it all went wrong?
Yeah.
I think realistically, though, it could only really be France. The other countries don't carry enough political weight. They will just toe a line. I also don't think it will be. I still think that they'll grant an extension. I think probably the more interesting question is how long the extension is, because obviously if they grant a sort of couple of weeks extension, that's just blatantly a technical extension to get the deal through, which they'll be anticipating.
Yeah.
Whereas if they grant the original date that was floated was January the 31st. That's more of a sort of have a general election, see where it takes you, or second referendum sort of thing.
Or even before the deal was looking serious, the date that a lot of people were floating was more like June, July of next year.
Yeah, no, they just because that would have just been the last extension, because June is when they have to finish up that the multi-annual
financial framework.
So that would just been the final extension, but. No, I still think there will be an extension. I don't think it will be.
Do you think we'll have to wait a while to find out? I think there's been talks of the EU leaders have literally just left the summit. They're not going to be particularly keen to rush back to sort this out. It could be even on the 31st that we find out what's happening.
Well, I think they might. I think that this will be interesting to see, because I'm sure they won't make the decision until a little bit later. But depending on how, because I think if the programme motion passes on the Monday. And the sort of whenever they actually reintroduce the bill, if they're allowed to, which we should talk about in a bit, if that passes as well, then I could see a little bit more bullishness from someone like Macron being like, we want a short extension, we're not going to do a long extension, really force them into the deal thing.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I still anticipate a longer extension because...
Yeah.
I still think the EU will be optimistic that a long extension might end up in a general election or a second referendum. Yeah. And then, that could be it. Can I just
add to that? I think that if I don't think that I'm going to stick by it. I still don't think that I think there's still a good chance that they might block it. But if they don't, and if they do give us an extension, I do agree that I think it'll be a longer one. I just think at the minute and this is what I was thinking yesterday, it's becoming more and more clear to me that I just think Parliament is so divided on it, I just can't see anything getting through.
No.
I think that I'm still of that opinion that I just, I can't understand.
Do you think the programme motion will pass on Monday?
I don't know. Possibly. I think it'll be close.
Yeah, it will be because he's got 306 definitely for his deal, because they were going to vote against Letwin, plus Nick Bowles and Letwin, who both said they're both the programme motion.
What's the threshold they need to pass again?
324 is probably what they need. So they need... That leaves 12 more that they've got to somehow they've got to find 12 more MPs.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yeah, because Nick Bowles and Letwin. Yeah.
Yeah, and they needed 14. So
12
more MPs before Monday.
I think there's where did the former Tories vote? The ones that were kicked out, were they divided?
Half, yeah. It was basically
pretty
half.
much.
10,
so
10.
there's a possibility you could persuade some of them back, like, hey, you want your job back? yeah, exactly. Remember us? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just slide a Conservative Party membership form across the table.
I think you're both right. It's definitely going to be incredibly close, and it will be the really telling moment of how this is going. I don't know if it will, though. I really don't know. At this point, it's so hard to gauge. We've seen some indication of what MPs think with the Letwin vote. But as you were saying earlier, Zach, quite a lot of that is related to how they feel about wanting more time and wanting more scrutiny rather than whether they like the deal or not. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And you're right. At that point, we'll then have a better idea of how long it's going to take. Is it likely to go through? And therefore, the EU probably have a better, more knowledge so they can judge how long the extension should be.
Yeah, but I still think, unfortunately, the most likely outcome here is a nice long January 31st extension, the minimum.
Sorry, I think So I was going somewhere with that, and then I railroaded it myself. So
Classic.
I haven't. So no. The reason that I think that there would be a longer extension is the same reason. I think the EU is probably looking at it from the point of view like, no, Parliament's the problem here. We've given them 2 deals. They're not budging on it. They're so divided. They can't do it. So they need some sort of thing to go back to the people. So it's either needs to be second referendum, general election, something to break this deadlock. And I think that's the way that Europe would probably see that. And if you just give a 2-week one, that's not going to happen. So I agree. I think it'll be a longer one, if any. So I do think that. Also, can I railroad us just one more time? We'll come back.
Yeah, go for it.
So, did you see the Peter Bone thing yesterday?
No, I didn't.
Not sure I did.
Okay, so it was Peter Bone's birthday yesterday.
Oh, sorry, I did see this. Yes.
Yes, hilarious.
Yes, and he said, "You've ruined my birthday. I wanted to leave."
What was that?
And he also said I should be at home eating cake or something, didn't he?
I didn't see it all.
Was this the
quotes.
interview that he did with Chuka Umunna in the BBC in the central lobby?
I have no idea. I just
one?
saw the text. I just saw the text of it, so I don't know.
He seemed pretty angry. I couldn't tell whether he was joking or not. And obviously Chuka Umunna was next to him and fairly pro the Letwin amendment and wanting to take it down. Yeah. And he seemed genuinely cross that he'd missed out on his birthday. It was an interesting one. And also, he even got a shout out in Johnson's initial opening remarks.
Did he?
Johnson was talking about thanking all the staff and stuff, making a point that they put a lot of effort in to make this happen. So let's hope it goes and passes. And he even got a shout out there and saying that he'd come in on his birthday.
Yeah.
So I thought, not often you get a birthday shout out from Parliament. I mean, it's unfortunate you've missed out on your birthday, but it's an unusual thing, I feel.
And the thing is, when people come, because that's a big day, that Saturday, it's only happened, is this the 4 times it's happened? So when people look back at the Hansard, just for people who don't know, Hansard is it's where everything that's said in Parliament dating back to when Parliament's inception is all transcribed at the end of the day and put in books, and you can now get it online. So Hansard is what we call just all the things that's ever been said in Parliament. So when people look back at the Hansard, there's going to be his birthday shout out on one of the big momentous days. He has, yeah. So
you should be grateful.
In a way, that's the best birthday present you can get is immortalisation in Hansard, on your birthday, one of the big Brexit days. I feel like that's quite a nice.
It's a good present.
I'd take that over Nando's.
I now want to be in Hansard really badly. I want to have that'd be great. Just have your name immortalised in Hansard.
Right, when's your birthday? We'll get you to Central Lobby. We'll lobby MPs. We'll make this happen. This is
God, that'd be pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
That's a fun idea for a video. Who can get in Hansard fastest?
Oh, guys, we have when Brexit dies down and we have fuck all to do on this channel.
I'm going to railroad the railroad. Right. Do you watch Tom Scott? I'm doing it.
Yeah, this is going so.
This really is going off.
No, I'm railroading the railroad. Yeah, so he did a video a while ago.
Said the word railroad a lot.
I have. Yeah. In our version of Hansard, railroad is going to be up there in one of the most useful things at the top of this.
Keep railroading.
Yeah. So he did a video a while ago with Matt Parker, I think, and it was on trying to get in the background of as many news like cameras around Westminster on one of the general elections. It might have been 2010, something like that. So obviously because it was a 2010 election, there was loads of news cameras about, loads of like news coverage. So they did like a Top Gear style, like running around London trying to get in the back of loads of different. So I feel like we need to do a similar thing to that, but in getting Zach in Hansard. So we'll all go around. We'll bump into MPs. Cool. Yeah. Just shout out my friend in Parliament, please.
It's possible, because they do always love bringing up people, and they're like, I spoke to someone in my constituency. She's like trying to run a farm, but she can't afford to because tariffs. Like, they love bringing up like little anecdotes that don't really mean too much.
Also, there are slow days in Parliament. Like, there's stuff where they just have to fill it up, and you could just really wheel your way in there.
On a quiet day in Parliament, we're gonna have a full debate on Zach's birthday. Clear the lobby. Yeah. Brilliant.
We'll do our best.
Okay. Does someone else want to do their job of bringing it back? Because I feel like my job at the minute is railroading.
I think that's pretty good. We can talk, because you were talking about a general election, we can segue back on.
Oh, nice segue. I was intentional.
There we go.
Yeah, that wasn't. Yeah, I meant that. General election. Are we discussing that again?
That was such a smooth segue, and then Ben just railroaded the segue.
Exactly. You just completely shat on my segue.
I'm so sorry.
Go for it, Zach. You continue segueing.
Yeah, I just think it's actually a little bit interesting now, because I think that this has all panned out pretty well for Johnson politically. I think it looks like when May's deal came out, it was roundly panned, and everyone was like, oh, it's not real Brexit and all this sort of thing. And I think Johnson's avoided that, and I think he's sort of done the impossible. Like, he now has this coalition of voters. It's the people who desperately want Brexit done. I think they for the most part know. And then that's all of us, but I mean the people who, who just want a Brexit of some sort.
Sure. They're not particularly fussy with what it is, they just want it to happen.
Yeah, who mostly would have been Brexit Party voters at some point.
Yeah.
And then those people who think that a deal is the best way out of this. And I think that as a contingent of voters is easily enough to win in the general election. I wasn't optimistic about it before, and when we did our Lib Dem predictions, Also, because once it becomes a post-Brexit general election, like, it's just a completely different general election.
Totally true.
I don't know if it will be post-Brexit, but let's say that it's a sort of predetermined outcome that the deal is going through and all that sort of thing. Then it just the platforms for all the parties become
then it becomes the Lib Dems lose their core argument. Johnson's just going around doing a victory lap, and no one likes Corbyn still.
Exactly.
So
they still have some political capital left over from getting the deal through.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting the point you're making there with, like, he's managed to do the impossible and convince everyone, like all the Brexit side of the argument, that his deal is like the best thing. It's kind of remarkable, because most people are saying, and I think having read what I've read, that it's fairly true, that this isn't a whole lot better for anyone than May's deal was. And depending on your viewpoint, this is worse than May's deal was.
Especially if you're a unionist.
Exactly. I can see why some people who are pro-Brexit think that the way this sets up future relationships and how close we'll be with the EU, it is possibly marginally better. But some of the core objections are clearly still there. A lot of the Northern Irish issues are still there. It replaced the backstop with, like, essentially just a new plan that isn't even a backstop. It's not a fallback. It is how it will work. So there's a lot of ways where this deal isn't a whole lot better for anyone than May's deal was, and yet he's managed to convince everyone and kind of deflect all of the negative attitude that May's deal got through, I don't know what, sheer personality, sheer kind of like his attitude to everything.
Do you think maybe it's more that it's worked out quite nicely for him because people are getting tired? So with Theresa May, it was the first deal, it was the first time it went through, and everyone thought, no, we can do something better. And now it's been months since then. It's been months and months since then. People are getting tired of extensions, and it's more like, let's just get this through sort of thing. Do you reckon it's more like, not necessarily that people like it more, just that they want Brexit more?
Possibly.
I think there is, to be fair to him, there's a couple of things that really help him. I think, firstly, the fact that this proposal is obviously slightly more detailed than May's. Like, to really mock his proposal, it's good to listen to Nigel Farage, because you can sort of see why he's struggling. Because to really mock this proposal, Farage has been, like, he resorts to stuff like, you have to talk about boring shit, like, level playing field stuff, and it hasn't got anywhere near the same potency as saying, like, this backstop keeps us in the EU forever.
The headlines aren't as good.
What was that?
It's essentially just the headlines aren't as good.
Yeah, the headlines they're really rubbish.
You've still got arguments you can make, but they're not as interesting.
And I think also, to be fair to him, I think the legal advice is what will also help him, because there is actually, in some sense, a substantial difference in that the way that this works does, in some sense, I mean, it's question, like there was a lot to be sorted out logistically, but it does allow for like the new trade deals and all that sort of thing. And Geoffrey Cox's legal advice was crapped with Theresa May's deal because essentially that any divergence post backstop needed to be agreed upon by both parties, which meant that Geoffrey Cox couldn't really say that actually the UK will unilaterally be allowed to diverge, whereas it's pretty clear, like from what people have, from what Geoffrey Cox sounds and from what he's been saying, that actually this does, at least in the legal sense, give the UK some space to diverge.
Yeah,
and so I think those two things will really help them.
Yeah, you're definitely right, and there have been improvements in some areas. The question just is, how much are people buying into it? And I think they're clearly buying into it a lot more than May's deal. Certainly, the electorate are. We'll see how MPs are feeling about it if it does make it to a meaningful vote at some point. But yeah, no, you're right. And I think from what we were saying earlier with kind of how the EU are seeing things, that we might need a longer extension so we can shake things up in Parliament, I think they're probably right. I really can't see, unless by some miracle Johnson managed to persuade a load of people for his deal now, I don't know how else we're going to get out of this.
Yeah.
It's been deadlock after deadlock. It's really close, but it just doesn't look like it's kind of, you can't move the dial far enough to actually make anything work. So a general election, as kind of controversial as it might be, as much as people might not want it to happen, I struggle to see how any other outcome would work, unless you want a no deal, in which case then sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's divided as it's so divided on even just the Brexit issue, and people are still very polarised on Brexit. They're more polarised than ever in post World War II history in terms of majorities in Parliament. So no party has a majority in Parliament. So even prior to now, we've only had, 2 coalitions post-World War II history?
Yeah.
So we've only had twice where we've had a minority, and they've only been slightly. So it's been like, we just need a few more to get us over the line. I think we're in, minus 43 now? So even just in, if you were to whip everybody in your party, you'd still need 43 more votes to get a bill through. So you've got that. Then you've got people who are so divided on Brexit and can't seem to... No one, the indicative votes, no one backs anything. There's no majority for any option with Brexit. So how do you break that? People aren't just going to wake up and go, you know what, Remain sounds real good right now. No one's going to wake up and change their mind and go, right, well, I'm a fundamental, I want to leave with a no deal. Oh no, actually I quite like a deal. That's not happening. So yeah, at some point, I'm not advocating anything. I'm just saying I can't seem to see the deadlock in Parliament breaking. I just can't. I really struggle to see it happening.
I also think this isn't actually a Brexit specific issue. I think this is unfortunately the future of British politics if things stay as they are, because even just with the SNP, you now sort of by definition have a 3-party or 2.5-party system going on, and for a political system that's based on majority votes, that just makes everything a heck of a lot harder.
Yeah.
First past the post no longer guarantees you a majority in the same way it used to. You can have the majority of the vote and still not make a parliamentary majority.
Yeah.
So I think, I basically think this is going to be the same thing that will happen for years to come.
That sounds so positive.
I know. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, I genuinely, this isn't me just playing devil's advocate. I genuinely think that this is a one-off. I think that this is...
Oh, there we go. Another...
Yeah.
Another controversial take.
Ben v. Zach, here we go.
Nice.
Yeah. Are we going to do another bet on this one as well?
I think your original bet might work out better than mine, the Lib Dem one.
Yeah.
I don't see the Lib Dem getting 60 seats anymore.
No backsies. What was I going to say? Yeah. No, I think this is a one-off. I think that this is a Brexit inherent problem. I think that First Past the Post has problems. I think that it works when there are 2 parties, and I do agree with you that there are third parties increasing. However, sorry, I've got a cold at the minute.
You don't say.
You sound like you're both struggling a bit, to be honest.
Yeah, no, we are.
We're sort of leaning in very close to one another and just passing over diseases.
I'm so glad I'm not there.
I know. It's a
if
very
you were
good
there,
job.
it'd be 3 blokes really
We've got-
tight around a mic. It would not be easy.
This is more of a containment than anything else. This is Jack's playing this off like, oh, it just happened that Zach was in Nottingham, but actually Jack sent Zach to Nottingham
Get away.
and said, record that with Ben, keep your illnesses together. If Jack becomes ill, then TLDR falls apart. So he's
Can't afford that to happen.
No, exactly. It's an important time. It's for the good of everybody watching that Zach's here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was going somewhere with this. So I don't think...
That's how most of your little chats go. Just
I need to stay on track.
diverge so massively.
Okay, where was I?
I do feel bad for people because they come to TLDR for like condensed information and then they just get Ben being like, did you see in Parliament?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
unbelievable.
There was a video from
It's
9
so
years ago
cute,
from Tom Scott. Yeah. Yeah, up-to-date news. 9 years ago, Scott made a video on the 2010 election.
This is definitely the least professional news channel.
Yeah.
Oh, for
if you want
sure.
proper, like, you want to know, I think people know at this point, if they want, like, watch the TLDR News
they?
UK normal channel. This is light-hearted fun.
Oh.
Yeah,
Even
this is-
the normal channel that, like,
Yeah.
don't have complete reliance on us. We can watch some nonsense.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
Ben.
got Leo Varadkar wrong the other day, and I got a bollocking for it.
Did
so.
you?
You did,
I
and
did.
also, I
What
mean,
did
I
you
know
say it
we're-
was?
I
you
said he was
barely.
the president.
Oh, Ben.
I know.
That's been said in the news like a million times.
I know.
I'm not going to try and say the word Tausig or whatever it is, but
Can I
Isn't it
say
just T-Shock?
T-Shock, that's it, exactly.
Yeah, I can't pronounce that. Can I just say, so it's a matter of public record now, that wasn't in the script, so whoever wrote the script, that's not their fault. It
Thank
just
you.
said Leo Varadkar, and whoever wrote it assumed that I would get that right, and I kind of thought, I know who this guy is. He's a president, isn't he? Turns out he was
Not
not,
quite.
and I got that wrong.
No,
and
I went back-
Jack even tried, and I noticed this, Jack tried to make up for it and tried to rectify it by putting on the video, he is the Prime Minister, he's not the
Oh
president.
no, I didn't even notice you saying it. To be honest, like if I'd noticed, I would have cut it out. I'd have just had you saying Leo Varadkar and then cut out that president bit. But I didn't actually notice that you said it wrong. So
What? This is disastrous.
sorry.
Okay. Again, I'm going to try and
Anyway,
get back
you
to
were
Sorry,
this.
gonna
no.
say
Yeah.
Let me
something, Ben, go on.
railroad you again quickly.
Yes.
Right.
I just wanted to say that you're still getting a lot of abuse on the comment section.
What?
For you saying John Burko wrong. So I wanted to
Right.
feedback for like the 50th time. It's not John Burkow.
Right, can I just...
Why do
I
you
want
say
to... 1
Burkow?
minute. Let me just...
It's
I'm going to defend
such
myself
nonsense.
here. I'm gonna say,
No, defend
right.
yourself.
No,
There's
I
nothing
am.
to defend.
No, I am. Right. Right, in that video, and
we go.
you can
This is
can
gonna
watch
be
this. In the
such
first
nonsense.
time, I have re-recorded the first part when I say Burko, and I pronounce it Burko. And that is the first time I did it. The other 2 times, I did it but it's in the middle of a sentence, so I do it without thinking, and then I gave Jack the audio file. So the first time, I actively re-recorded my audio to pronounce it the way I've been told to pronounce it, and then the other 2 were
The
in
right
the middle
way.
of sentences.
Yeah, the correct way to pronounce it. It's not like we're forcing some
Originally,
ridiculous language
You're
on
right.
you.
You're right.
It's just-
Originally, I was against Zach on this, and I was sticking by my guns. And then the YouTube comment section spoke, and I've backed down. I've I think rather graciously, I want to add, I've graciously backed down.
Ben,
And
that was one of the least gracious backing down.
You're right.
You're
I've never
still
seen.
furious.
You tried to
You're
not
right.
back down. You
I
just,
am trying to U-turn. It
you've
turns out.
fallen down here.
Yeah.
This was not a conscious backing down.
Yeah. Unlike Thatcher, I am for turning, and I've turned on this issue. So
Okay.
the issue of how to pronounce Burko.
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 What are we talking about? This is... We've got really far.
Oh my god! All right, I'm making my point now.
Ben was making a
I'm
point.
I'm stunned about this. So I don't think that the current polarisation of politics is going to be the future of British politics. I think that this is a Brexit issue.
I agree with that, but what I meant by that is that the legislative deadlocks are going to be a function of British politics.
Specifically for Brexit or all legislative
No,
matters?
obviously once Brexit is done, there aren't going to be any more Brexit deadlocks.
No, but Brexit's not going to be done. Yeah, but how long? When's Brexit ever going to be
Ben,
done?
you're all over the place here. Come on.
No, Brexit is never going to be done.
Brexit's
true.
never going to be done. That's probably. We really hope it's never going to
Maybe
be done.
not
Actually,
never,
do we
but-
hope it's never going to be done? Because I've been thinking about this. Like, do we want to keep on doing Brexit videos forever?
No, I don't. I don't care about them.
Yeah,
want
you
it
really
done.
don't. You want to do all your.
I want general
old-
elections.
Yeah.
I'm desperately waiting here to do election scripts.
Brexit's the only thing I'm an expert on now, though. So once that.
I reckon we could do with a bit, like, as the channel, we could do with a bit more Brexit content, I think. I think if we're still doing it in 15 years' time, like if we're talking like a really long way down the road, then sure, I think people might be bored of it.
Jack's going into his retirement home,
know.
like writing his last Brexit video.
I know. I can honestly imagine it. Like, would you be surprised? The EU's
No.
agreed another extension.
Anyway, well, the deadlock stuff. Yeah, no, I just think that now, if the Lib Dems can keep a foothold in British politics, and then you have the SNP, who guarantee themselves sort of 50 seats in the corner, then I just think
they can manage to get themselves out, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That was
So you do think that this is going to be a hallmark of politics post Brexit?
Well, I think basically until UK politics learns how to exist as coalition, I think we'll have this.
I just think
on and on and on.
So the SNP. So this is to do with third parties, isn't it? So the SNP
and fourth parties, fourth
parties and etc. But so the SNP, they did very well in 2015. They did exceptionally well, and they basically took Scotland. The Conservatives in 2017 took a lot of SNP seats from them, from what I recall.
Not that many. I think they have about 10. There's about 10 Scottish Conservative
That sounds about
seats,
right, yeah.
Which is just not that many.
It's not too many, no. And they still are
and they
there.
will lose those in the
100%
election. So
yeah.
They'll also lose their Welsh seats. So
but we've got to bear in mind as well that currently the minority is to do with them kicking people out of the party, which that's not going to happen forever. And I think Cameron said something similar actually recently, which he said it'd be crazy if they're not readmitted at some point.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's more just about how the electoral maths plays out. Like at the moment, if you really need to get a heavy majority in England and sort of some bits of Wales, if you want to guarantee yourself, as Labour or the Conservatives, you want to guarantee yourself a majority.
The Lib Dems, I would argue, did quite well in 2017 because of Brexit. And if Brexit's no longer an issue and people are sick and tired of division, then people are going to go back to the two traditional parties and they're going to increase their majorities.
So I think at the minute
it's to do with the Lib Dems. I think at the minute it's to do with the Lib Dems having the number of seats that they do. And I think because of that, we have that contributes a lot to minority and the Conservatives being kicked out. So once Brexit's the first stage of Brexit anyway is done, I think the Lib Dems lose their hallmark issue. They struggle in an election, and the two major parties have an increase, which puts somebody back at a majority. And especially with people knowing that, and the parties being able to campaign around that, saying, we've had years of division, we've had years of things not being able to get through Parliament, please back a major party. I think that'll work, and I think it's going to go back.
I think it's possible, but I think, if Labour continues to drift left, then I don't think that the two-party system will take hold again. I think the Lib Dems will still have a space. And B, depending on how the Lib Dems react to us actually leaving. I don't know how well if they campaign on this a platform of rejoin or something like that, if that's their new shtick on the EU, maybe that will give them some electoral weight. I'm not sure how well that will work. But yeah, it depends on whether or not the Lib Dems collapse and if Labour can become a proper competitor.
I think it depends also how disillusioned the electorate has actually become with the two main parties. I think especially with Labour, with some of their controversies generally and also just the way they've handled Brexit. I can see a certain number of people, if the Lib Dems played it right, maybe being swayed that way even beyond Brexit, just because they were never particularly keen on Corbyn to begin with, and because they're just sick of their attitude to Brexit. They think they didn't do a particularly good job. They'd rather have someone they can trust, like the Lib Dems, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think they've definitely got an argument to make there. It's just how well they're able to make it. And who wins the argument, I guess. The bet between you two. That's the big issue.
I can't believe it, because at the time, had such a solid bet. I was like, I'm seeing a general election coming.
Yeah.
The Lib Dems were polling on 25%. And now they've just dropped off a little bit.
Yeah.
Who knows? They could pull it back. We were just talking about how nice Swinson seed. Maybe she'll have a Clegg effect in debates and stuff.
Yeah.
The first Lib Dem majority government, maybe. Maybe first past post is going to work, and it's just not going to work the way we expect it to. Maybe it's going to be complete realignment, and it'll be Lib Dem Brexit Party taking.
What were the stakes of your Lib Dem bet? Were there any stakes besides pride?
It was 2%. It was 50 to 1.
Oh no! The stakes. The stakes.
Yeah,
of the
between
bet.
you. What did you bet?
It was whoever would.
Bet.
It was whoever won would get to introduce the next podcast that you're not on.
That's such a lame bet. Sorry, guys, but
do you want to,
Jack? Well, no, I'm fancying my chances now. Do you want to up the? I want to up the stakes. What do you want the stakes to be, Jack? Because I feel like I'm in a good position right now.
I feel like I can't get involved.
You feel like you can't get involved?
I can't get involved in your
pre-existing bet. You're Mr. TLDR.
Yeah, no, but I can't suddenly say, okay, your bet that you made 3 weeks ago is suddenly for £1,000. That's not my decision.
Oh no, I'm not doing money. I'm a student. You think I have that money?
That was my point. I can't suddenly add stakes to your pre-existing bet.
My next bet, if I win the bet, I want you to eat olive bread.
Oh,
happily.
That's my thing. In a tux or something, on like a shirt.
I literally just meant in the last episode, it seemed quite fancy and quite an extravagant thing to have eating on a podcast. I'm not a fan of olives personally.
How is that fancy thing to do? Fancy to eat on a podcast?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
I just had a banana.
Oh, come on.
Like, I don't know. I just thought it was quite I've not heard of it before either, and I'm not a big fan of olives, so...
Yeah, you're missing out. Anyway, this
so
again, God, we are wasting people's time. It's unbelievable.
I think we're just all so inherently bored of Brexit that our minds are deliberately trying to railroad just any Brexit conversation.
Do we have anything more we need to say?
I have nothing.
Right, I think there was some stuff. Oh yeah, we should talk. I hate to actually bring us back onto real politics because it's dull. But Keir Starmer this morning had an interview and he's talked about he's going to table a couple of amendments.
Yeah.
To one of them's a second referendum thing. Which Labour will obviously back, and then there was another one suggesting that the UK should stay in a customs union.
Yeah,
and obviously we don't know how those are going to pan out, and I don't think either of them will actually work.
No,
but I think it's an interesting point about what if you're sort of like on the Remain side of the argument and you're an MP. I think the best use of your time right now would be to build a coalition of MPs who agree for basically the second stage of negotiations, who can basically try and pressure Boris to go for like an EEA Norway style trade deal, because I think that's your best shot at the moment. I think a people's vote is going to be very difficult. I still just don't see it happening basically, and I think the best you can hope for, and the best thing you can hope to get a majority for, is some sort of Norway option. Like basically try and lobby enough MPs to agree that we should stay in a customs union and we should stay with regulatory alignment, and then maybe some slight divergence on like fishing and stuff like that, which is what Norway has. Because I think there's actually maybe a parliamentary majority for that sort of thing. Once we've done Brexit, because once the Remain is all settled that they've got to have some sort of deal, that's a very soft deal. People like Nick Bowles and Oliver Letwin. Nick Bowles is a pro-Norway style guy. Like there are some soft conservatives and Brexiteer dealers sort of in the middle of the parliamentary spectrum who I think would go for that sort of thing. And I basically think that's a better use of their energies than a second referendum.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think neither of those are going to fly this week. Maybe imagine if they did though. What a twist that would be.
Oh my god! If there's a second referendum, I don't even know if I want a second referendum. I don't know what I want at this point. I just sort of want it to be done.
It would be great for the analytics on our channel, but I'm not sure it'll be amazing for the country.
No. I think there's enough polarisation.
I do think Remain would win though. The polls really, really strongly suggest that Remain would win.
It'll be close still, I think. Yeah. And I think no one would be happy as a result of it.
52-48.
No, I think it's one of the only. I think that's one of the only things that would happen that everybody would be upset afterwards. And I mean, like everybody.
So, what do we think the best outcome is, like for the country? What would you? I think a deal is. If we ended up like Norway, I would be really happy.
Yeah, I think some kind of compromise deal where everyone can see the benefits of it, if that's even possible. That's the only way it could happen, because anything too extreme one way or the other, you're just going to have half of the people angry.
Well, but the question is, you go on.
But the question is whether that's possible. Like, what is that middle ground that's going to keep everyone happy enough and not be like a May style deal that no one liked and it didn't please anyone?
I agree with you, but I just don't think that I think that's a mythical land that doesn't exist. I don't think there is such thing as a deal that will satisfy everyone. And I just
But you can get a deal that half satisfies. What about that? Do you think that's a good outcome?
I think people will still be angry though. Everyone will still feel like they've been sold out. Like,
so if Johnson's deal gets through, what do we think? Everyone will still feel.
Yeah.
How do we rate that as an outcome out of 10?
What, for political stability?
Political stability, country generally.
I think that's a fairly stable one. I think people are going to be very annoyed at it, but it's got through the legislature. There's not much you can really say about it. Like it's not no deal, which most people are against. It's fairly hard Brexit, so people can be for it.
I think
way.
Especially if now the fact it's been forced to go through Parliament in like a more like considered manner, I think that probably helps it as well. Because if it had been rushed through, you're going to have people arguing that it was never debated properly, it was never discussed. Whereas now you've got a bit of like, but MPs did support it after seeing all the information, so they are the elected representatives. You voted for them in the general election. Like, what are you going to do? So I think this is one of the best shots we have for some kind of stability. Unless, I don't know, I think possibly after a general election, if there was a clear winner on one side or the other and then they were able to do as they pleased, I think it would be pretty tough to disagree with that result. Just because, although sure we did vote to leave a couple years ago, like 3 years ago, but if suddenly a Remain government came in, it would be a bit like, well, people have clearly changed their mind. This is what the people want now. And although I completely recognise people wouldn't be that happy about it, I think it would be pretty tough to argue that it wasn't the will of the people, at least in some way. So
I think, more plausibly though, if Boris Johnson wins a nice big majority and then pushes his deal through,
way more plausibly,
then you've got, because then there's no tension between the democratic legitimacy of the referendum versus the actual outcome. I think that's a pretty likely outcome, and it's also a pretty good outcome. I don't think I'm not particularly worried about it. Although I think probably some of our listeners will be pretty more pro Remain than
I think elections. If I had to choose, if you had to choose between a referendum and an election,
I don't know. Because some part of me thinks that I think an interesting hypothetical here is if someone had, like at the very start of the whole Brexit thing, someone had given you this deal and said this or Remain. There's just no way. There's no way that deal would have ever won. Like you just be like, it's just not as good. Like it's just not as good as our current relationship. That doesn't make any sense. But obviously we're not there. And given how much has happened in between, that's the only thing that tempts me towards Remain. Is just that sort of like brute comparison between those two things.
Yeah.
And maybe it'd be worth it even with all the political upheaval it would cause. But no, I think that a general election is I think we just need to stop doing referendums. Referendums are not.
Yeah, they're not great.
They're just terrible. It's just not the way political decisions should be made. Like I know there's this constant tension between like what you think your MP should be as to whether or not you think he should just literally voice the majority opinion, or he should be a sort of slightly more learned actor that works in your best interests.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that our political system has always like treated them as the latter. Like, you know, they're not just delegates; they're trustees. Like you really trust them with your vote essentially. So I think general election, in part because I think it'll be less divisive as an outcome, but also in part because I think that the practice of referendums has to stop.
I agree.
Anything more to say on this?
Unless you got another railroad, I don't think so.
Go on, Ben. You could just search something up on the internet. Go
Zach knows I've got an article up that I am about to railroad this discussion.
Yeah, go for it. One final railroad. Let's railroad us into
this is the thing. The thing is, Zach being here, he can see what I do. Like I kind of look stuff up.
He does actually just have BBC News up.
Yeah, I do. I've just found an article that I want to talk about. So apparently, since the Brexit referendum, there's been a 28% surge in applications to politics courses in universities.
About you? No, just politics generally, not even.
Yeah.
In the UK or generally?
Yeah, according to UCAS, which is the UK system. So apparently applications went from 34,275 in 2013 to 47,445 in 2018. So yeah, and apparently Liverpool University has had to triple the size of its politics department. So yeah, maybe that's a positive effect of Brexit, you know, more people studying politics. Which,
I think
as a
generally
politics student,
that is kind of a positive, at least temporarily, is that it is nice that people are paying attention all of a sudden, and that is a useful thing for a political system. I mean, for them to be as angry as everyone is probably isn't great for anyone, but to have an engaged population is always good.
Yeah, it's just whether people are studying that as opposed to like maths or something like that, or just something else. So I don't know whether people are just looking at the news while it's interesting and deciding to study it because of that. I suppose that could be the negative you could spin on it. But no, I think there you go.
It makes sense. Like I completely get. We've been talking about politics so much in the last few years, certainly compared to like, I don't know, middle of the way through the Cameron government, where I feel like a lot of people weren't particularly paying attention. Or the coalition government, sorry, not just Cameron. But yeah, I feel like we've suddenly become so engaged as like a population generally, not even just in the UK, but with the whole Trump thing too. I think people are suddenly more interested. So it doesn't surprise me, but it's good to see.
Well, I've just realised I'm going to be included in those figures, aren't I? Because I started studying in 2017. So if they're talking about a rise post-referendum, 2016, I might be one of them. I might
You're
be one of the people
stats.
You are
who
a stat,
has.
that's
I'm
what you
a
are.
stat. Yeah, I'm one of the people who got interested post referendum and decided to study at university. So.
But now you're sick of Brexit and want to talk about anything else. So
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
Now you study politics and talk
I wonder
about
what
politics.
I wonder what I would have studied if it wasn't Brexit. Because evidently my mind is trying to get us
Maybe
off
maths.
Brexit.
You've got a maths book there.
I've got a maths book here. Yeah. No, definitely not maths. Anybody that knows me knows that all my friendship group at home study hard maths at really good universities. So I might have done A-level maths, but I was the worst at it in my group. So there's not a chance I'd have done maths. So yeah, just
Good
last railroad for the podcast.
I think we have to end before we go even further left field.
Honestly, so true. Well, I hope you two haven't diseased each other too much and stay in quarantine as long as you need, Zach. Don't come back to the office
I think
anytime
that might be
soon.
my company. That's
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're not allowed back in the office apparently.
I don't want any diseases, especially Ben's new diseases.
Yeah, you've got the London and Nottingham ones now. So
oh yeah, I've got a northern bug.
You've made a
Yeah.
super virus between
that's
the
not
two.
just my nickname.
What was
It's like
that?
the Americans like went
Northern bug.
I'd love it if that caught on. That's so funny.
Yeah. Well, if people keep hating on me in the comments as much as they are, apparently,
I think your voice.
catch on.
This is a bit of a compliment.
So,
I think your voice was great for that video.
Yeah.
There's a
And
lot
just
of people who are saying you're better than me. So
Alas,
Yeah, I
You've
think
got
you could actually
supporters.
be the next
well,
one.
no. A last sort of tidbit for this is,
Great word.
yeah, exactly, is that two things.
Here we
I had
go.
a friend.
I thought we were going to finish.
yeah,
We've
I
got
was
hours
shutting
left.
down my computer,
I've-
and now we've come back into another anecdote.
It's very quick. So
You should
obviously,
have your own podcast, Ben. You know that.
I know that's
Just
the
on his
one.
own, like he doesn't
Yeah.
need anyone to talk against.
Yeah, not even politics, just
Or you
generic.
could just have one of us being like, you just
sitting there nodding.
You just say like, yeah, just anything, and he just take
Yep.
them, take a left field.
Yeah, I'll just take. If you just do that for a little bit, I'll take those, make a soundboard, I'll just hit those. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
But no, one of
Let's
my
go
friends
now,
watched,
Jack. Let's just go with it.
one of my friends watched the video this morning, and apparently it took
Yeah.
them a little while to realise that it was actually me
Wow.
because the soundboard's out already. Because apparently I put on a voice when I'm doing the recording. So
Wow.
yeah.
It was
exactly.
quite interesting because you did like a little intro to today's video, which I cut
Yeah.
out.
And the first one. If
But
I'm
it-
owning up to things, Jack, it's
Sorry?
your turn. If I'm owning up to things as well, it's your turn. You cut the first one as well.
Yeah,
Let's
I
not-
cut it twice. But it was
Yeah.
really interesting, specifically in today's video, how you sounded normal in the first bit. For like the first 20 seconds when you were introducing yourself, you sounded like
do.
you do now. And then you
Yeah.
suddenly went into like
narrator voice.
TV presenter mode. It was funny.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
I keep saying that it's my Clarkson voice. I mean, it doesn't sound a thing like Clarkson, but it's the sort of like over-the-top presenting sort of thing that he does. So I feel like
I feel like I definitely do it
I
too,
genuinely
so-
think you could do.
oh, thank you. Yeah,
You could replace
Yeah.
Jack.
yeah.
Wow.
I feel like some people were so harsh to you, and like. And the other thing that I found funny is that they thought that because I was doing the voice, somehow the promotions was my thing. Like if I made
Yeah,
the decision,
that-
I made the executive decision that we would cut all the adverts.
That kind
in
of annoyed me. There are a lot of people who were like, "Oh, Ben needs to stay because there's no advert at the beginning of this one."
Yeah,
and
there's
I was
no
like,
correlation
look at the
between
end.
the two.
The script was still written by me. Like it made
Yeah.
no difference.
Yeah, I was the one. Yeah, so basically, Jack sends me a script. I read the script, and it goes on the video. So I make no decisions as to what goes in that. That was Jack. Like that.
The annoying thing is, there's not a promotion in today's video either. Besides like,
No.
asking people to subscribe, I should have
should've
put a
put more
huge
in.
promotion in this one to try
Yeah.
and balance it out.
exactly. So then people realise there's no correlation between me doing the audio and no promotion. That was just by chance.
Yeah, that was
So,
funny.
Clear that one up here. So anybody that
We'll
does
put that
know
on
me
the
from
record at the
podcast-
end of like an hour-long podcast.
Yeah. Well, again, it's only for it's the loyal ones that will know. They'll know all the intricacies of TLDR because they stick around. So
Well
yeah.
worth sticking around for.
Okay, no more railroads. No more railroads.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for all your railroads, and
Yeah.
thanks for joining together in your little disease colony over there.
Yeah.
I have now got a foreign bug. It's going to be like when the Americans colonize.
The
like,
north is the same country, and Nottingham's not even in the north; it's the Midlands.
It is.
What's the furthest north you've
joke,
ever been, Zach?
Oh, you can all fuck off. I've been to Scotland. It's not like I'm. Well,
I'm
it is
being
like
serious. What is the
I'm
furthest
an
north you've
isolated-
ever
No, okay, I have been to Scotland, so I've been pretty much
In the
all the way
in
north,
England.
But I sort of take the coastal route to avoid. You know.
It's nice, isn't it, on the train?
Yeah, it's a really
It's
nice.
lovely,
train.
isn't it? Yeah.
Scotland
Yeah.
is a very beautiful place.
It is. So's the north.
Is
so
it?
yes.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Um,
okay.
Yeah. I have got something else I want to say, but I'm not going to do it because I feel like I've got.
You can't lead up to that now.
Please.
I'll do it. I'll ask in the next one. We'll do it in the next one.
Leave it.
That?
Okay, cool. No one's listening anymore anyway, so no one's going to be hyped about that.
No.
Sorry.
Do
the ending, Jack. Do your ending thing.
Yeah, Jack, you do.
I don't know what the ending thing is. We normally just cut out.
Are you going to do what you normally do on the videos, like
Jack? I would just apologise. I would really.
I'm just really sorry. I'm sorry you've had to sit through this. You must have lost your phone or something. So you're still listening to this because honestly, why haven't you switched it off?
They haven't figured out where the pause button is. So
it's the one with the two little lines together. That's the one you want.
If you press that, it stops us speaking.
How are we? We're dragging this out.
Please, I'm so sorry.
Okay. Right, we're done now, everyone. Have a good day. Have a good life. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.